Amazing grace, how sweet the.
Hey, what's up? I wanted to talk to you about verbal abusive. I've been domestic violence before I met my husband. That was in 2005 when I dated my ex, and I was pregnant and he would hit me, literally hit me. I'd try to hit back and he would hit harder. I believe I was 6 months pregnant and I did marry this guy. We were just in a relationship and I ended up moving back home. And in 2006 I had my daughter. She was a day old when I met my husband, and he agreed to adopt her, and he wanted her to be his. And I dated him for 4 years, and then after 4 years I ended up marrying him. This is not the dad's father. This is not her father, rather, her real father. This is her stepdad. And then after my daughter turned, I think she was like 1 or 2, I got pregnant, and my husband, we had a little boy, and he's 3. So anyway, we got married in Las Vegas, and as I was dating this guy, my husband, he occasionally would get mad. Like, I would tell him he didn't have to be with me. He could, move on, or whatever. This was before I had my son, and for some reason he came back. He would buy me guilt gifts, like he would buy me a ring. They were just guilt rings. They weren't, when you buy somebody something, you're buying because you love that person or you care about that person. These were guilt rings. They were like, I don't know. So anyway, we got married in Las Vegas, and on April Fool's Day, yeah, go figure. April Fool's Day, yeah, I see April Fool's Day. Anyway, he moved back from California to Texas, and we were living with my mom, my mom and my dad with the kids, and because he had, when our son was, I believe he was 1. No, he moved out when, I can't remember, but I know he moved when our son was a baby, and he was gone for almost 2 years, and he left us. He didn't. He was overwhelmed, I guess. I don't know. I guess he didn't want to stay long enough to see his son. Like, I guess he gave up. I guess he wanted to go play whatever he wanted to do back home. And I know he missed his mom. I know he missed his family. But there comes a thing, like, you've been away from your mom for so long, and then you have a family, and then you get up and leave that family and go see her. It's just like, wait a minute. You should take your responsibilities and to be a dad, to be an adult, to be there for your son. And he would come every month or every 6 months, or I can't remember. So, that happened. So after we got married, he became, we moved to Dallas, And after that happened, he became verbal abusive. And at the time, I didn't know what I was going through, or I got depressed. I would cry. I didn't want to do anything because that's how deeply depressed I was. I didn't talk to my mother, my mom and my dad, because I'm like really close to my family, and I talk to my mom about everything. She's like my best friend. So at the time, I couldn't talk to her. I couldn't talk to nobody, and she would ask me if I was fine, and I couldn't tell her. I just couldn't tell her, and I would just tell her, yeah, I'm fine, but my voice was like low, and I was like deeply depressed because I got accused for things that I didn't do. If I would look out the window, he would be like, who are you waiting for? Or, you waiting for somebody? No, I was not waiting. I just wanted to look out the window. What's wrong with that? We lived in an apartment, and the guy upstairs and his girlfriend, they used to smoke. So when the cigarettes, they'd fall into my plants, he would come home and he would say something like, who is over? And I'm like, nobody. And then I know one time he came home and he said him and his friend were, because he worked night shifts. Him and his friend, I don't know where they went. And this girl tried to, try to get his number or whatever. And supposedly his friend said something like, I have to make this quick. But, so anyway, when I forgot what I was gonna say. So yeah, I got accused for things that I didn't do, and I told his family what he did to me, and they probably don't believe me, which is fine. I'm not gonna sit there and try to convince them, because that's their son, and they'll never know until they step into my shoe. They don't know how he made me feel. Verbal abuse is very common, and I've seen it a lot. And I see women that will go back to the man, and they're still treated the same. That will never change. Never, ever. I don't care if they talk to you better, if they say they're seeking kind of help. Until I see that paper that you're seeking help, then I will believe you. But if I don't see that paper, then I'm not gonna believe you. They have to want to change, and not because you or me or their mother or their new girlfriend can tell them to change. They have to want to change themselves. And yeah, I got verbal abusive, and it's not easy. I started believing everything he told me, the mean things that he told me, the mean things that he told his sister-in-law, which she, what he told her. Because, when you start a relationship, you don't turn your back and leave for almost 2 years, and then talk about that person behind their back, and then he's telling you he loves you, whatever, but yet he's talking behind your back. That's not a relationship. That's somebody that's being mean and being hateful and talking trash behind your back. Would I do that? No. I am not that kind of person to be talking behind anybody's back. You know, I wouldn't do that. That's, to me, that's childish. Sorry, my camera just like went off. So anyway, I don't know where I left off, but yeah, so verbal abusive is like really, really bad. You know, it's verbal abuse is like it's like a deep cut, and it never heals. And when you go through something like I did, then that stays in you, and you start thinking everything that person said to you. You start thinking, maybe I was like that, maybe I am like that. You know, and you start thinking bad things about you, and then you start getting depressed. You know, what helped me was family, my kids. I love my kids. I couldn't even imagine my life without them. God, I couldn't even imagine my life without God, because I've always had the Lord Jesus in my heart. I have had family in my heart, just like close people that are close to me, my friends. I pushed my friends away, but because they didn't know what I was going through. And today I wanted to talk to y'all about verbal abuse, the signs of verbal abuse. So, in verbal abuse, our mental abuse is passed on like a life-threatening disease throughout the family. We choose mates, places of employment, and friends based upon family patterns. No one ever intends to become verbal abusive, but it happens more often than we care to admit. Yeah, so whatever you're going through, someone out there in this world is going through the same thing as you are. If you're unable to sustain a healthy relations, you may be a victim to verbal abusive, which we couldn't keep, we couldn't keep like a normal relationship. It was him. He was always, I'm not gonna say I wasn't at fault. Maybe I said some things that I shouldn't, but he had no right to be verbal abusive to me. And nobody has to go through that. And I wouldn't want any of my friends to have to deal with somebody that was verbal abusive, because it gets in you, and like I said, you get depressed, and you shouldn't. You should always be yourself. And I could never be myself around him, so I always have to be what he said. In the end, people realize what that person really is like, and if his new girlfriend will find out what he's all about, and it wouldn't be something I have to tell him. It's for anybody to find out what that person's about. I hope he changes, but until I see that he's got help, on paper, then I'll believe him. Since I don't see it on paper, he could say whatever. So, if you're a perfectionist, you may have been a victim of verbal abuse. If you making excuses for your abuser, you're definitely the victim of verbal abusive. I, for one, I used to do that a lot. I used to protect him. Everything that my mom or my dad or my brothers would see in him, I would protect him, because I didn't know any better. I didn't know anything about verbal abuse. I knew domestic violence, but I didn't know verbal abusive. So, and people would, like, even my friend, she would point it out for me. And when you love somebody, you're blind. You don't see it. So I didn't see it till I moved to Dallas, and I saw a lot. And I was, like I said, I didn't know, and I got depressed. And
amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. And I who once was lost, but now I'm found.